Again for being here. So the first thing, I need to confess something. I need to be very honest with you. I was someone who used to struggle with this a lot myself, a lot myself. So I can really give you the ins and the outs of how to get over this stuff. Cool, we're streaming live. Welcome, YouTube and Facebook, wherever you're watching. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So yeah, I have to confess, I used to be terrified of the word no. Not just a little bit nervous, not just a little bit uncomfortable, I mean terrified. I first came across the fear of rejection in the corporate world, and it's kind of a weird thing because when you first start off in selling, because you don't know anything, it's actually, this thing doesn't even really exist. And it only really builds up when you start getting a lot of no's, and then you start to really take it personally. And often people are new to the coaching space, the online space. Their first couple of calls, they don't really think about this. They may be nervous, but they don't really fear this thing. But after they've had some calls, this really can become a big problem. And I know that because I used to hover over a send button for 15 minutes before I would make an offer or invite someone to a sales call. I lived there and I would avoid doing that work. Now I'm happy to say I drive people mad with sending them offers every 2 minutes on email and over DM because I have a very different view of what selling is and what making an offer is. I have no shame in doing it, and I'll explain why you should have no shame doing it. Over the course of maybe the next 90 minutes, hopefully sooner, I'm going to help you understand what that fear is, where that fear actually lives in your body and your mind. I'm going to give you a set of tools that will change the way you feel about the word no, not by getting rid of the fear, but by making the fear not matter anymore. So hopefully you should all have a workbook. If you don't have the workbook, let me know, and I will share it in the chat. But hopefully you all have the workbook. Just keep it to hand. I didn't have time to print it today, but I will try and remember when we get to the key bits. So here's the first question. Why does rejection hurt so much? And I do not mean in a deep thinking way. What I mean is actually what's happening inside of our brain, your brain, when someone says, no, I'm not interested. No, I'm not interested. And this is something I've studied an awful lot. And there's a really fascinating book. It's not that well known, but it's a fascinating book called Rejection Proof. And in this book, it referred to a study that was done at the University of Michigan, where scientists watched what happened inside people's brains when they were rejected. And they put people through a social rejection while scanning their brains. And what they found was it was shocking, really, absolutely shocking. And it's the same part of our brain that light up when we actually feel physical pain also lights up when we feel rejected. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. Literally scary. So the same brain wiring that fires up when you burn your hand or you break your arm is exactly the same when someone says, I do not want what you're offering. So think about what that means for a minute. Your brain truly cannot tell the difference between a broken bone and a broken deal where someone says no. So when someone tells you no, your body reacts as if you've been physically hurt. Now, why do our bodies work this way? Because most of human history, being rejected by a group was not just like a sad thing to happen, it would literally kill you. So if you go back a couple of 1,000 years, 2,000 years, we're all part of like a small tribe of 40 to 60 people. And if that group pushed us out, we don't just feel bad, we literally die. Why? You cannot hunt alone. You cannot protect yourself alone. You cannot survive one winter alone. So being kicked out of a group was the same as being left to die. So your brain has built an alarm system, a system so strong, so real in the body that even the chance of being rejected sets off a danger response. So your stress goes up, our heartbeats get faster, palms get sweaty. The part of your brain that thinks clearly and makes good decisions will shut down because the survival brain kicks in. So here's the painful part for every online entrepreneur, coach, consultant that's here and watching this. You are running a modern business with a brain that's 2,000 years old. And your brain is actually treating a polite no thank you in your messages as if a wild animal just walked into the room now. So this is not like a mindset problem. This is not a confidence problem. This is literally how your brain and my brain is wired. And once you understand that, everything will start to change. There's one idea from the book which I referred to, rejection proof. And it's this: rejection is something every person goes through. And we can learn to handle it in a way that helps us instead of hurts us. And I want us to really think about that this evening. And I would love for you to write something in your notebook right now. The top of the first page, you can write this down again. I think I may have even put it in the book. And it's: my fear of rejection doesn't mean I'm weak, it means I'm human. My fear of rejection doesn't mean I am weak, it means I am human. And it is so, so true. And now that we understand there's actually some science behind it, there is a second layer, and it is way sneakier than the body's automatic reaction. It is something that was named as the single biggest weakness in any business conversation. And it's called being needy, needy. There's a great book called Start With a No, Start With No. And the idea is super simple, but very powerful. The moment you need a certain answer from a conversation, the moment you need someone to say yes, you've already lost the game. Because wanting something is not necessarily wrong, but because needing it actually changes the way you sound, the way you act, the way you make decisions. And people can really, really feel that. I'm sure you've all heard this phrase before. Sales is the transference of emotion. And the emotion you need to transfer in selling, among others, but the main one is certainty. So if you're not certain, people can pick up on that energy. My fear of rejection doesn't mean I'm weak, it means I'm human. Yeah, 100%. So people can feel this in our transfer of emotion in a sales conversation. So for folks having sales calls, think about the last sales call you had. Were you the person who needed that person to sign up? And I'm sure you've been in a situation where you really, deep down, you need this person to sign up. If they don't sign up, oh my God, this could be terrible. And think about, if you've been in that situation, what happened to your voice? Did it get higher? Did you speak faster? What happened with your pricing? Did you start over explaining, over promising? Did you start over justifying? It's all very, very common things. In the book, what's it called? Fanatical prospecting. There's a rule called the law of need, the law of need. And it says the more you need a deal, the less likely you are to get it. It's so true. And here's why this really speaks, hopefully, to coaches and online business owners so much. Most of people who I very much start working with at the early stages have a very thin list of people to talk to. Maybe one, maybe two, maybe three at a push of real conversations going on at any time. So when one of those conversations falls apart, it literally feels like the end of the world. Okay, it feels like the whole thing is just failing. It's really painful when, like, you've only got three people in your world, two people, and one goes. It feels like you're losing everything. So that fear, that desperation will now leak into all your other conversations. And people who you want to work with can, the prospects can really feel this. Okay. They might not be able to put their finger on it, but they know something's not quite right. It's like, smelling the smoke before you can see the fire. And desperation pushes people away, the very people you're trying to attract. So, one idea from the book, Start With No, is this: being needy is the biggest weakness in any conversation. And when you are the needy one, the other person has all the power. So, what do we do about it? Well, in the book, Start With No, the answer is this: get comfortable being not okay. So get comfortable being not okay. The book calls it the Columbo effect. Do you remember Columbo, the old TV detective who always seemed confused, a little unsure, very, very harmless? Who watched the Columbo, the TV detective? You know, Columbo was never the smartest person in the room, or at least he never acted like the smartest people in the room. And that is exactly what made him so good at what he did. This is really important. When you take away the needy part, when you walk into a sales conversation, not thinking, I need you to say yes, subconsciously in your head, you're just thinking, oh my God, I need them to say yes. But instead thinking, I'm honestly curious if I can just help you. So the shift is, I need you to say yes, bad energy. Two, I'm honestly really curious, like I'm really curious if I can help you. What that does, it allows your voice to go back to normal, for you to slow down, allows you to ask better questions. You listen because you really actually want to understand, not because you're waiting for your turn to talk. So, what we're going to think about is the Columbo effect. The Columbo effect. We're going to talk about it because it's such a powerful way to think about the fear of rejection and selling. So being needy is not just a feeling, okay? It's literally the signal that you're sending to people that tells them to run off, run away. Okay, in the chat, guys, is everyone with me? Is everyone with me so far? Is it making sense so far? Welcome everyone that's here. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. So before we do anything else, you'll see in your workbook that you'll see a space with reflection 1. And here's what I want you to think about just for a minute. When was the last time a fear of rejection stopped you from doing something you knew was right for your business? And write down the exact moment. What were you about to do? What did you do instead? And most importantly, what story did you tell yourself to avoid feeling okay? So you're trying to feel okay. So when was the last time the fear of rejection stopped you from doing something you knew was super important, that was right for your business? Write down the exact moment. What were you about to do? What did you do instead? And what was the story you told yourself to make you feel okay by avoiding the very thing you knew you should do? So just take a moment for that, and write it in the books. Hopefully you can see the page in the book. Gonna take a quick drink. Just gonna check the folks over on YouTube quickly. Everyone on YouTube, I'm not able to just keep an eye on the chat as much as I would like tonight, but feel free to put your questions in the chat, whatever channel you're watching this on, and I promise I will get to them by the latest tomorrow for you. Let me just hop on, see what's going on. Cool. Okay, guys. So hopefully you've all got something written down there. You can access the replay, take more time to do it. But why is this so important? You've just named the enemy. You've just named the enemy. Okay, just name the enemy. So I want to share a story about a copier salesman named Eric. And the story comes from the book Go for No. So Eric is an average sales rep. One Monday, he goes out, he closes 3 deals before lunch, and he calls it 3 of 3. 3 of 3. Scared of, okay, don't worry, we can definitely deal with that one. That's super common, by the way, being scared of shine, super common. So Eric got 3 of 3, the perfect day. So he had 3 sales calls, 3 sales. So Eric calls the wife and tells her the good news, and then does something that will sound familiar to everyone here if you've been doing any form of selling. Eric goes home early and picks up a takeaway, watches some sport on TV, tells himself he's earned it. After all, he only needed 1 more sale to hit his goal, his quota. So why keep going? On the surface, that sounds fair. But here's what the book shows us as the story unfolds. Eric was not making a smart choice to rest. He was making a fear-based choice to stop while things were good. Now, think about this, because somewhere in the back of his mind, he knew something very scary for him. If Eric kept going, he might hear a no. And that no would ruin the good feeling of a perfect Monday. And this is a trap almost everyone falls into. I've fallen into it, I would say almost 100% of people. I've not met anyone who hasn't fallen into this trap. What we do is we sign a client on Monday, and we'll spend Tuesday through to Friday in celebration mode, woohoo, which is really avoidance mode, wearing this party hat. So you stop reaching out, you stop making offers, you stop doing the exact things that got you to win. Because if you keep selling, you might get rejected. And rejection will mess up the good feeling that you've just built. It's super common. So in the book, Go for No, there is a model I want to draw your attention to, and I want you to look in the workbook. You should be able to turn to the failure success diagram in the book. So most people work on the book calls and the failure avoidance model. It looks like this. There's a line. On the left-hand side is failure. On the right-hand side is success. And your job, the way you see it, is to move from left to right, away from failure towards success. Every yes moves you right. Every no moves you to the left. So, of course, you try to hear no as little as possible. But there's a huge problem with this. This way of thinking locks you into actually being average. Because the only way to avoid a no, this is so important, the only way to avoid a no is to stop asking. And the moment you stop asking, your business dries up, your income will drop, and 3 months from now, you will be in huge trouble. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? Let me know if it makes sense or yes in the chat. So here's the flip. Here's the flip. The book gives us a completely different model. So in this new model, failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is on the road to success. It's not left versus right. It is one road, and the failure is just the ground you walk on to get to where you are going. So in this model, no is not a step backwards. No is the proof that actually you're moving forwards. So every no you collect means you are closer to the next yes, not just a nice thought, that is real mass. So this brings us to the idea that rejection is just a number, okay? This brings us to one of the most freeing ideas that's shared in the book, Rejection Proof. The author of that book decided to do something that most people would deem pretty crazy, and it is crazy. So after a very painful rejection from someone he wanted to invest in his company, he started what he called 100 days of rejection therapy. Has anyone ever heard of this before? If you heard it before, put yes in the chat. If you haven't heard it before, put no. Yeah, no. Yeah, this is really fascinating. Yeah, this is a big eye opener. I read this years ago. So he went through something called rejection therapy. So for 100 days in a row, he went out into the world and made requests that were almost sure to be turned down. Okay, so he promised himself for 100 days in a row would go out into the world and make requests that were almost certain that he would be turned down. I think I shared it with you on a call before, Anne-Louise, I think, some time back. So he asked a stranger if he could plant a flower in their garden. That's one thing he did. He then asked the donut shop worker to make him donuts shaped like Olympic rings, like the Olympic rings. He also walked up to someone's house and asked if he could play football in their yard. Now, the results were amazing. The first one, which you really need to take notice of, he didn't die. I know that sounds like a joke, but remember what we talked about at the beginning. Your brain treats rejection like a life or death threat. And he proved by doing it over and over and over again, that threat is not real. No one killed him. The second, and this part is the part that should change how you run your business, hopefully. A surprising number of people actually said yes. The donut shop worker actually made the Olympic donuts. The homeowner actually let him play football in the backyard. Yeah, he found out that rejection is not a wall. Rejection is a locked door, and the way you unlock it is simply by asking enough times. Simply by asking enough times. So here's what I want you to really take in. Rejection has a number. Rejection has a number. So every offer you make and every message you send and every follow-up you do brings you one step closer to the point where the next thing is going to be a yes. It's almost certain to come. So if 1 out of every 10 people say yes, then every no brings you 10% closer to the next yes. That no did not cost you anything. It earned you something. It earned you progress. So the big idea from the book is rejection is just one person's opinion. It's not the truth. It just depends on the situation and it can be overcome. I didn't realize I had the fear of rejection. No, but this is making sense. Good. I'm glad this is making sense. So next up, I would love to give you a tool. Love to give you a tool. And you'll see it in your workbook. There's this no quadrant thing. And what this does, it measures where you are right now with rejection. So this is not about your skill level. It's got nothing to do with like, how do you handle an objection? How do you handle the objection? Price is too high, need to talk to my spouse. Nothing to do with that, okay? It's about how much rejection can you handle before it stops you. So in the workbook, you'll see there's 10 statements. 10 statements. And I'm going to read each one out aloud, and I want you to score yourself as honestly as possible, okay? 1 means this is not me at all, and 5 means this is exactly me. Okay, make sense? Everyone makes sense? So I'm going to read them out and you give yourself a score. And this should hopefully be a big aha moment for you. Statement number 1. Statement number 1. When someone says no, I take it as information, not as something personal. So statement number 1, when someone says no, I take it as information, not as something personal. Remember, be as honest as possible. 1 means this is not me at all. 5 means this is exactly me. Statement number 2. Statement number 2. I have a set of daily number offers I make, no matter what happens. So in other words, every day you have a quota of the amount of offers you will make, no matter what happens. Do you have that? 5, that's me. 1 means that's not me at all. Okay, everyone still with me? We're in line. Cool, 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 cool. Okay, so write these down in the book as we go through. Statement number 3, I follow up with people who said no without feeling desperate or sorry. So statement number 3, I follow up with people who said no without feeling desperate or sorry. So I have to read these from my notes here. Cool. Statement number 4, I can hear the word no and right away ask a follow-up question instead of pulling back. Statement number 4, I can hear the word no and right away ask a follow-up question instead of pulling back. So yeah, write these in the book as we go through. Okay, statement number 5. I do not lower my price or over-explain my offer when I feel someone hesitating. Statement number 5, I do not lower my price or over-explain my offer when someone is hesitating. Statements number 6, I do my sales work during my best energy hours, not after I have tired myself out on other tasks. So number 6, I do my sales work during my best energy hours, not after I have tired myself out doing other tasks. Okay, statement number 7. Statement number 7, I track how many conversations I start each week with the same amount of care. I track my income. And just make sure you write it down on the workbook because it will make sense in a minute. Number 8, I do not stop reaching out after I sign a new client. I keep the same level of effort no matter what. So statement number 8, I do not stop reaching out after I sign a new client. I keep the same level of effort no matter what. Just 2 more left, guys. Doing amazing. Statement number 9. Statement number 9 is, I see a sales conversation that did not work as something I can learn from, not as proof that my offer is bad. So I see a sales conversation that did not work out as something I can learn from, not as proof that my offer is bad. And then the last one, drum roll, please. Statement number 10, I would rather hear 10 no's today than play it safe and hear nothing. Statement number 10, I would rather hear 10 no's today than play it safe and hear nothing. Awesome, guys. So hopefully you've managed to go through all of those. And what I would love for you to do now is to add up your score. You can add up what score you have. And let me know when you've added the score up. If everyone can do that, just put yes when you've done it. Or yeah, share your number. Awesome. Whatever feels comfortable for you. We're all friends here. How are you getting on, Kath? And Louise, how are you getting on? Lauren, how are you getting on? Don't worry. Information is power, people. That's why we're here. Respect you massively for being here for yourself. How are we getting on? You got yours added up, Nicole? Kath and Louise? Just put yes in the chat if you're ready. Nicole, just asking if you've added up all your results. So just saying, we went through our questions, giving yourself a number. What I want you to do is add those numbers up. Don't worry, you can definitely catch a replay. The score is designed to give you some information. So when you add up the score, if you got anything between 10 and 20, do not worry. Do not worry. Okay. That is exactly what this workshop is for. Okay. If you got between 20 and 35, you have the foundation, but the fear is still running the show. If you scored above 35, you've already started to make a massive shift, and we can make things speed up even more for you. Okay. So if you miss some out, don't worry. Yeah, if they don't apply to you, don't worry. You'll get the general idea as we go through. But just write that score down. This is a starting point. Okay, it's a starting point. So one of the big things, big aha moments for me when I've been teaching the stuff over the many years is from the book. Definitely just dealing with, there's many fears we have in selling, but fear of rejection is one of them. And in the book, Go for No, something that really helped me, something I want you to carry with you, is stop setting goals. Stop setting a yes goal. Start setting no goals. Let me say that again. Stop setting yes goals. Start setting no goals. So if your current goal is to sign, let's say, 4 clients this month, we need to reverse that. Your new goal is to collect 20 no's this month. So the idea is if 1 in 10 people say yes, those 20 no's will bring you 2 to 3 yeses on their own. Okay, but the yeses are a side effect, not the target. Okay, so the yes is a byproduct of getting so many no's. Now I know this sounds crazy. So why does this work? Because when your goal is to hear a yes, every no feels like a failure, and it sets off that old alarm system in our reptile brain we talked about. It feels now, I feel really needy. It makes you want to quit. But when your goal is to hear no, something weird happens. Now, a no actually feels like a win because you're checking a box. If you literally write down my goal is to get X number of no's today, this week, and you're ticking them off, you're making progress. You're doing exactly what you planned to do. The emotional sting of rejection, okay, drops because you've changed what counts as success. So the idea from the book, Go for No, is clear. The most successful salespeople are not the ones who hear yes the most. They're the ones who hear no the most. Because the only way to hear more no's is to have more conversations. And more conversations without fail will lead to more yeses. Is everyone with me? So let's pause again. In the workbook, there should be a space, reflection 2. And what I want you to think about here is, what is your current no goal? What is your current no goal? If we don't have one, okay, great. Let's get one done. And write down the number of no's you are willing to collect starting from today, or starting from Monday next week, or if you're a high achiever, starting from tomorrow. Okay? Make the number very exact. Make it uncomfortable. Okay? And then ask yourself, if I collected that many no's, how many sales would follow? How many yeses? Because remember, a yes is a byproduct of how many no's. Make sense? Awesome. Awesome. I appreciate guys who are chatting with me in the chat. It's very, very helpful. Everyone watching on YouTube, put questions in the chat. I promise I will get to them tonight or tomorrow morning for you. So let me ask you something. When you hear the words cold outreach, what happens to you? Particularly, what happens in your body? So cold outreach is you're outreaching to a complete stranger. What happens to you in your body? Gross. Yeah. Feels intense rejection. So yeah, most people feel tightness in their chest, a little nausea, embarrassed. Yeah. There's a voice in the head that says, I don't want to bother anyone. I don't want to be that guy or girl. I don't want to be that person. There's a book which I don't recommend you read. But it was highly relevant from my old career. We did a lot of training with people doing cold outreach on the phone. There's a book called Smart Calling, okay, and it teaches us this, and it's a simple idea that will change the way you think about every conversation. Okay, it's so important. There's no such thing as a cold call. There are only calls you didn't prepare for. Let me say that again. There's no such thing as a cold call. There are only calls you didn't prepare for. So the fear you feel before reaching out to someone is not really ever about rejection. It's not about rejection. It's actually about not knowing, because you don't know who this person is. You don't know what they need. They don't know if your offer even matters to them. And you definitely do not know how they're going to respond. That not knowing is what makes the fear kick in the body. Make sense? So the answer from the book, Smart Calling, is something called the possible value proposition. So this is not a sales pitch. It's not a script. It is what we would call an educated guess. And here how it works. Before you reach out to anyone, you do something that almost nearly no one does on the internet, especially most folks in coaching. They never bother to do this. You actually do your homework. You look at some of their social media posts, okay? I want this book, Smart Calling. Yeah, I'll give you the full details in a minute, Anne-Louise. I'll find it on Amazon for you. Yeah, and I'll give you the. Remind me to do it before we end the call. In fact, everyone that came to the call, remember the last event I did, I gave you a reading list of all the books I recommend for the topic. I'll put a list together and I'll email it to you all in the morning, okay? With all the books, the authors' names, why it's good, why you'll find it helpful. So I'll do that for you, okay? And then most of these books should be on Amazon. Some of them are a bit obscure, but yeah, I'll definitely put a list together for you. So what we want to do is spend time looking at their social media, reading their posts, paying attention to their content, and we're trying to figure out what do they talk about? What are their goals? What are their problems? What do they like showing up online and talking about? What's the problem they're trying to solve for someone? We actually take time and effort to figure them out, their goals, their problems, frustrations, and we're not trying to be super creepy. What we're actually doing is showing them enough respect to understand their world before we step into their world. So then when you actually reach out, you're not just saying this, hi, I'm a coach, do you want to book a call? Okay, it never works. Well, will work mathematically, but you're going to go for a lot of no's. But instead, you're going to increase the probability of having a conversation. And instead, you may say something like, hey, I noticed a post about you're struggling with being consistent with your content. I work with coaches that have that exact problem, have a method that's helped several of my clients, double their output in 30 days. Would it be worth, a quick 15-minute chat to see if it could work for you as well? I don't know if you can see the difference. The first message is very cold and generic. The second one is much warmer. Okay, and it's nothing to do with a fancy template. It's because you put in the work to understand before you ask for anything. Okay, so the core idea of the book, the whole book of smart calling is this: the only thing that makes a cold call cold is a lack of preparation. And the difference is when you bring real understanding and value to a conversation, fear now has nowhere to live because you're bringing some value. The next powerful concept I want to talk you through in the workbook, if you can turn to the prospecting pyramid diagram, this idea comes from fanatical prospecting. It's so fundamental to anyone trying to sell stuff online, offline. And here's the idea. Not all sales activities are equal. They sit in this pyramid. And the higher you go, the better they work. So at the bottom of the pyramid is the widest and least powerful level when it comes to actually selling your stuff. So this is social media presence. So this is posting content, being visible, building awareness. Now, don't get me wrong, it definitely matters because we pre-sell people, definitely matters, but it's very passive. It's like standing in a room and hoping someone will walk up to you. It doesn't happen very, very often. Okay. We'll do some trainings on content, but it doesn't happen. Next level up is now connecting and engaging. So this is commenting on other people's posts, joining relevant groups, jumping into conversations. It's much more active than just posting, but it's still very indirect. Then the next level is this thing called direct outreach. This is sending a direct message. This could be an email, could be a voice message over the phone, okay? This is where basically you stop waiting and you start making the first move. Most coaches never do this, and they definitely don't do it regularly enough because this is where the fear of rejection is really strong, really strong. This is horrible. And then the next level is getting on the phone or Zoom, having real conversations, live backwards and forwards, where you listen, you figure out their problem, you offer help, And that is at the very top of the pyramid. The smallest but most powerful level is meeting a real human being. Conferences, events, speaking on stage, all of these things. But here's the key insight from the book. The thing that I want you to really pick from this. The activities that scare you, so the activities that scare you are the activities that will make you the most amount of money. The pyramid is a fear chart. The higher you go, the more uncomfortable you feel, the more money you will make. Most coaches live at the bottom of the pyramid. They post content and then they wait and they hope people will come. Hope is not a strategy. There's no such thing as hope selling, hope marketing. Most people live at the bottom of the pyramid. Post and wait. And when clients don't show up, they decide, well, nothing's working. When the truth is, they never actually moved above the very first level. So is this making sense? Is this useful? Is it making you see things slightly different? Anne Louise says 100%, thank you. See this everywhere in the coaching community. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, people just post hope marketing, hope selling. It's not a strategy. Nicole, is it making sense for you? Always good to see Kath. Nicole, yes, thank you. Awesome. So here's what to do. Fill in the pyramid, you should have it in your workbook, each level, write the exact things you're doing now, and then be honest about where you stop on that pyramid. So fill in the pyramid in your workbook. In each level, write the things you're doing now, and then be honest about where you stop on that pyramid. And then just give me a shout when you've done it in the chat. Anyone watching the replay on YouTube, on any of the 3 channels on YouTube, I will remember to put a workbook below the video so you can go through this in the replay, or feel free to reach out to me. Facebook is always the best platform to catch me on, and then I can get you caught up to speed. Done 2 or 3, mostly booking, research call, not for sales. Yeah, and great awareness, my friend. Really good awareness. This can be a big eye opener for people. Okay, has everyone done that? Only do in person if secure. Yes, awesome. Great awareness again. Cool. So, hope that opens up your eyes a bit. Okay, so we're going to jump back to another book, Start With No, and we're going to talk about the Columbo effect, the detective again, okay? So if you ever watch the old detective show called Columbo, you know the character. He wears a very wrinkled raincoat, drives a really knackered, beat up car, scratches his head, saying things like, you know, I'm probably wrong about this, but he does that famous, oh, just one more thing. And everyone he talks to underestimates him, every single one of them. And that is exactly why he solves literally every single case as a detective. So in the book Start With No, the lesson is this. In sales and deals, the person who seems to have less power often has the most. Let me say that again. The person who seems to have the less power often has the most when it comes to sales. So, why is this? Because when you walk into a conversation being needy, showing desperation, giving off the energy, I really need you to say yes, I really need you to buy from me, even you don't verbalize it, that's the feeling you're holding. The other person will pull back, their walls will go up, their survival brain kicks in. This is dangerous. Their guards get stronger. And no matter how good you are, you're never going to get a yes. But when you walk in with this thing called honest curiosity, when you say things like, oh, I might not be the right fit for you, and that's totally fine. But I would love to hear what you're going through and see if there's a way I could help. What happens now? The wall comes down, the guard drops because you've given them something almost no one in the sales conversation ever does. Real permission to say no. This is what is called the Columbo effect in selling. Okay? You take away the tough guy act and you come in low and easy. You give off the energy of I don't need this conversation to go any certain way. And here is the twist that is exactly the energy that makes people want to say, yes, that is the energy. So in your workbook, there is a space for rewriting your opening message. And I want you to take whatever you're currently saying and now rewrite it in the Columbo approach. So we start with being curious, not with confidence. We start with service and not selling. So start with, I might not be the right fit instead of I'm an expert. I am the expert you've been looking for. So just take a couple of minutes and see if you can craft it. Just though this is one method of selling, there's many, many, many ways. I teach many different ways. People have different ways they like to sell, but this is one of the easiest ways, the Columbo effect. No worries, my friend. It was great you were here. Yeah, feel free to run off, and we'll catch up soon. But so good to see you. Ba, ba, ba. Okay, so next thing, to a bit of reflection for you. And be honest. At which level of the prospecting pyramid do you spend most of your time? I want you to think about this after doing the Columbo. Just pause. So just pause and think. At which level of the prospecting pyramid do you spend most of your time? What story have you told yourself to explain why you've not gone higher? It's the story getting the success that you want. No worries. Yeah, no worries, Nicole. This may not be the best approach, but just curious, ask them a question about their habits. Yeah, totally. So just be honest, which level of the prospecting pyramid do you spend most of your time? What story have you told yourself to explain why you haven't gone higher? Write the story down, make it come alive, and take your time. Prospecting pyramid because I'm comfortable being invisible. Yeah. Okay. So once you've written it down, I now want you to write one sentence that challenges it. Okay. One sentence that will challenge it. So the task is to think about which level of the prospecting pyramid do you spend most of your time. What's the story you've been telling yourself to explain why you've not moved up? And write that story down. And then write one sentence that will challenge it. Whilst doing that, guys, let's just take a quick 5 minute um, a 5 minute break so people can grab drinks and stuff, and then we will come off and do the second part. Okay, I appreciate you guys. See you in 5 minutes. Hello, guys. Hello. Can you all hear me? If you can hear me, put yes in the chat. Fantastic. Fantastic. Before we go on, 0 being this has been terrible, 10 being this is useful. Would you let me know where you are? Just always like to know where people are before we go on, just to make sure this has been useful. No worries. Yeah, let us know what will be more useful for you. What's missing for you? We'd love to hear from everyone. So 10 super useful, 0 being this is not useful at all. So we've got a 10, we've got a 6. Maybe people are still away from their computers. The fact there's a barrier. Love it. The pyramid is a great tool I can use to track my journey. 7. Awesome. Is that a language barrier? Yeah, it's a language barrier. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, we're persevere. Don't worry. So I'm glad it's not the information. Oh, mental barrier. Okay, now I get you. No worry. Yeah, don't worry. Don't stress. Now I understand. Okay. Thank you, guys. Right, welcome back. So let's talk about something called the law of need. So we touched on the idea of the law of need right at the beginning, but I want to go much deeper because understanding this thing called the law of need in your head is a big thing. Okay. So living it in the middle of a real sales call is something else. Like it's one idea. So, okay, I understand there's this thing called the law of need, but actually using it in the middle of a sales conversation is something completely different. This is spoken about in several books, sales, EQ, fanatical prospecting. It's mentioned in loads of books. And we get a very honest explanation of why sales conversations go very, very, very wrong. And it really is very rarely a script problem. It's very rarely even an offer problem. It's not like a secret hack problem, like a closing ninja tactic. It comes down to how you feel in the moment, believe it or not. So when you walk into a conversation, like I said, needing a sale, several things are happening all at once. So it's a number of problems. One, your listening gets worse. So you stop hearing what the person is actually saying and you start hearing what you want them to say, which is something very different. Your questions stop being real and start being like very leading. You start asking not these big open questions, but leading questions. You'll speed up. You'll talk very fast like this because you're nervous. You'll start jumping ahead to the close, and you're missing out vital steps in gathering intelligence, as it's called. Um, you'll skip ahead to the end, asking for the sale before you've even figured out what they need, what their problems are. You know, even if there is a fit. So there's a very easy way to explain this. It's called being hijacked by your emotions. It's the feeling part of your brain that takes over from the thinking part. And when that happens, there is no longer a real conversation. Okay? So The feeling part of your brain takes over from the thinking part. This is super dangerous because you're giving a speech to someone who didn't basically ask for one. You're pitching your offer, they have no idea what you're talking about. So the only fix, and this is the same lesson from so many books, it's the same lesson, okay, is have a full list of people to talk to. It's always comes down to a pipeline problem. Every sales trainer talks about this. Grant Cardone, Jordan Belford, all the books. When your pipeline is so abundant with many people talking, when you're talking to so many people, so when you have 25 conversations going, the pressure on any of these dropping out doesn't matter because you didn't need that one person. But when you only have two people, one person drops out, or even one, it's devastating. Okay, it's devastating. So having a full pipeline, okay, it automatically makes you much more relaxed. You can actually start showing up being fully present, listening, be helpful, all of these things, but you need the people to talk to because the pain of losing one of one is really painful. But losing one of 20, it's not such a big headache anymore. Or why don't, if you have 100 conversations going. So please write this down because it's so important. You do not have a problem closing a deal. Okay, what you really have is a pipeline problem. And if you have a full pipeline, you're no longer a needy person. Because if someone says no, it doesn't matter. I've still got another 19 conversations I'm having. I still have 19 other opportunities. It's all about having the opportunity. If you remove opportunities, life gets really stressful. So now, and there's ways to fill a pipeline with the people as well, which again, we can go into some other time. But now, even with a full pipeline, okay, and the right emotional state, you're still going to run into pushback, which is normal. And what we have to understand is pushback, this is not failure. This is what sales is. Sales is all about pushbacks, okay? And it's something really important that most coaches, online entrepreneurs miss altogether, okay? So there are three main types of pushback. There's three. And in the sales world, they're called RBOSs. RBOS. RBO is the main thing, but we put S at the end. You'll see why in a minute. It stands for reflex responses. So reflex response. The next one, the B is brush offs. And then the last one is objections. So there's reflex responses, brush offs, and objections. So reflex responses are automatic. They are not even decisions. So when someone says, I'm not interested, within the first 3 seconds of the conversation, this is not a real rejection. This is just a habit. It's just a habit. It's like say, yeah, I'm fine when someone asks how you are. Doesn't mean anything at all. It's just a reflex response. It's not like a decision, a verdict. It's not anything. Okay. Brush offs, the next one are a little more real. Welcome back, Nicole. Good to see you again. Brush offs are a little bit more real, but still are shallow, basically. So this would be, oh, send me some information. I'll think about it. Now's not a good time. These are very polite ways of ending a conversation. I call these the polite goodbye forever, basically. It's where you don't want to be rude, but you don't want to talk to that person again. And the person is not saying no to your offer. They are saying no to almost the interruption into their world. That they haven't heard enough to form even a real opinion of you, your offer. if you can even help them. Okay, so these are brush-offs. Okay, objections are different kettle of fish altogether. Objections are the only kind of pushback that actually really matter. Okay, so reflex response, automatic, doesn't matter. A brush off doesn't really matter, just a shallow thing. Objections are the only real kind of pushback. They're the only ones that really matter. An objection is a very particular concern. I am not sure I can afford that. I tried coaching before, it didn't work for me. I do not have time for another program right now. Objections are a sign of interest. Objections are a sign of interest. They are a level of interest. They mean the person is actually thinking about your offer hard enough to spot a problem. So they've actually spotted a problem. So here's why this difference is so important. Most coaches, online entrepreneurs, treat a reflex response and a brush off like they are a real objection. So when someone says, I'm not interested, and the coach goes into this spiral, oh, my offer must be wrong, the messaging must be off, I'm not good enough. But the person was not even reacting to the offer. They were reacting to the pattern of being pitched something being sold to them. Does that make sense? Obviously, sales objections is a big, wonderful topic to go over. About 4 times a year, I do a 3-day, all-day event on sales objections. I think when I'm going to be doing it again, but sales objections are great. When you know what they are, they become good fun. They're nothing to be scared of. But I can give you a couple of hints for now. What do you do when you hit a pushback in real time? This is like a very simple way of dealing with it. And this is where you do something called LDA. LDA. Ledge, disrupt, ask. This becomes your most powerful tool. So you should see in your workbook, if you turn to, there should be something called a rejection toolbox for you in there. So step 1, the ledge. This is where you hear a reflex response or a brush off. The first thing to do is to buy yourself time. As long as you're always in a conversation, this is the most important things in sales. To still be, in a conversation in DMs, or as soon as there's no conversation, the war is too much. So the first thing is you need to buy yourself time. So you say something that shows you heard them without agreeing or disagreeing. Okay? You're just giving yourself time to think and make sure they don't run off. So this is called the ledge because it gives you something to stand on while the emotional part of your brain, who's doing the selling, gets a chance to calm down. Examples. Oh, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, I completely understand. Oh, yeah, that makes total sense. So these aren't giving up. They are calming you down. They're telling your body, we're okay. We're still in this. We're still talking. As long as we're talking, there's no emergency. Okay? Step 2 is right after the ledge, we say something that disrupts, okay? Breaks the pattern. So remember, our reflex response is automatic. It's a script running in the person's head. Your job is to interrupt that script that's running in their head with something they did not expect. Example, most people feel that way before we talk. You know what's interesting? Some of my best clients said exactly the same thing before they joined. Oh, can I ask you a quick question? The disrupt doesn't need to be clever at all. It just needs to be slightly surprising enough to move the person from autopilot to being curious in a conversation. That's our goal. Always keeping a conversation going, and we want to get them out of the autopilot response. We want them engaged. And step 3 is ask. So once you have used the ledge, you've disrupted, you've now earned the right to ask a question that moves things forward. Not a pushy question, not a pressure question, a real question. What is the biggest challenge in your business right now? If you could fix one problem in the next 90 days, what would that look like? What have you already tried before that doesn't work? So the ask does 2 things. It makes the other person feel heard, and it gives you the information you need to figure out if you could actually help them. Remember, sales is all about helping. So let me walk you through the whole thing. So imagine we send a direct message on Facebook or Instagram or the dancing platform, TikTok, whatever it may be, LinkedIn, and the person replies, "Thanks, I'm not interested." So they reply, "Thanks, I'm not interested." The ledge is this: "Yeah, no problem at all. I appreciate you letting me know." Okay, so yeah, no problem at all. I appreciate you letting me know. The disrupt. I'm curious though. Most of the coaches I work with said the same thing before they saw how this works. A quick question, and then ask, what's the biggest thing standing between you and steady 5-figure months right now? So the whole point is, you're not being pushy, you've not been desperate or needy, you've been real. And you've given the conversation the chance to go somewhere that actually matters. So you're keeping the conversation going and directing it to somewhere that actually matters. So in your workbook, hopefully on the page you're on now, write down 3 ledge statements, 3 disruptive statements, and 3 ask questions that feel natural to you and your offer. Okay, these are your go-to moves, and they're super easy. If you've got them written down, you can refer to them again and again and again. They're literally your go-to. So when you get like this, the response, you've got some go-to stuff. It's very, very easy when you have some ledge statements, some disrupt statements, some ask questions to hand. Because a lot of time when you're in a sales conversation, especially if you feel like you're under stress and under threat, it's so hard. But if you've got stuff planned out, yeah, if you've got some things like a structure, some go-to stuff, the stress automatically lowers. One of the most powerful things from Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, in one of his programs, Straight Line Selling, it's because it's goal-orientated selling, but it has a real method, the straight line of where you're taking someone from and to, and there's steps, so you always know what you're doing in the sale, why you're there, how you're there. Grant Cardone, when he teaches he has a sales system as well. All the steps, when you make your presentation, it's all laid out to help reduce the uncertainty of you. When you're selling, the more certain you are, the easier it gets. It's like the Boy Scouts say, planning and preparation prevents bad performance. I was going to say a naughty word. Okay, so I know you guys would have finished that by now, but I want to get through this. I've gone on for a lot longer than what I was hoping to today. Apologies. So everything we've covered so far, the science, the flip, the smart approach, the emotional tools, all of it rests on one foundation. And if that foundation has cracks, nothing will hold. So there's a great book called Mindset. I'm sure you've all heard of the book Mindset. There's 2 ways of thinking are laid out that shape how we deal with setbacks. The first is the fixed way of thinking, a fixed mindset. So when someone thinks this way, they believe their abilities, their smarts, their worth are set in stone. So in other words, you either have talent or you don't have talent. You're either natural sales or you're not natural sales. Every failure, every rejection, every no is not just something that happened. It is proof. It's proof that you're not good at this thing called selling or whatever the thing is. And the second is a growth mindset, a growth way of thinking. So when someone thinks this way, they believe their abilities can change. They can grow. They can grow through effort, through trying different things, from learning from what went wrong. And they understand that no is not a verdict. It's just a piece of information. We can learn, what worked, what didn't work, what to change next time. Now, here's where it gets personal for everyone in the room here. Most, in fact, all of you, folks who I work with are not silly people. They're very smart, very well educated people, did well in school, very capable, bright, clever. And that praise, as strange as it sounds, may put you in a fixed way of thinking. Now, why is that? Your whole identity is built on being naturally good at things. So the problem is anything that challenges that story feels like a threat to who you are. So a failed sales conversation, okay, does not just feel like a bad Zoom sales call. It feels like proof that you are a fraud, that you should not be doing this, that everyone else has had this figured out and you're just pretending. So this is why the book Mindset is so important, because it shows us that this feeling is not reality. It's just a lens, and that lens can be swapped out and changed. So one of the big lessons from the book Mindset is this: when you have a growth way of thinking, challenges actually become exciting instead of scary. Instead of thinking, oh, I'm gonna show my weakness, you think this is a chance to get better. And when you bring this growth way of thinking into sales, something amazing happens. Every no becomes a chance to learn. Every pushback becomes a lesson. Every awkward conversation becomes practice for another way of looking at it. You stop asking what's wrong with me. My God, I must be terrible at this. Why am I so bad? You start asking, what can I learn from this? You stop hiding from failure. You start digging into where's the useful information. Okay? So this brings us to something that was discovered during those 100 days of rejection from the book, Rejection Proof. And it runs through every single book that I've talked about. And it's this, it's letting go of results. In sales, if you can let go of results, something incredible happens. Now, this does not mean you stop caring about what happens. It means you move from emotional energy, from things you cannot control, but you move to things that you can. So in other words, you cannot control whether someone says yes. That is their call, shaped by a thousand things you'll never know about. Their budget, their timing, their mood, the day they've had. It's the cat ill, the dog sick, the Uncle Frank's annoying them, past experiences with salespeople, all these things. We don't know how well they slept last night. There's 1,000 things that can affect their answer. But what you can control is this: how many conversations you start, how much prep work you did before each one of them, how you show up emotionally, the questions you ask, the follow-ups you send, the tools you use when people push back, the value you bring. When you literally tie your self-worth to what you can control instead of what you can't control, rejection will start to lose its power, because the rejection was never about you. It was about them, their timing, their situation, their readiness. Okay. So in the book, Rejection Proof, the lesson is clear. Rejection is one person's opinion in one moment. It's not the absolute truth about your value. And often you can make the same offer to the same person on a different day and they would have said yes. There's 1,000 reasons why someone will say no at that particular time. So in your workbook, I want you to fill in the letting go grid. Okay? On the left side, list 5 things in your business you cannot control. On the right side, list 5 things you can control. This is your new way of working. You see, when you feel the fear of building, look at the right column. This is where your power is. Okay, now we won't do this now. I would suggest you do that after the call because that will take some time. But it's a super powerful tool. So take your time, please do the work. Remember, education without implementation is just entertainment. Take some real time, okay? Take some real time. There's one more powerful tool I want to give you just before we finish the call. It's very simple. It comes from the most important thing discovered during the 100 days of rejection. The word why. Most people, when they hear no, they do one of 2 things. They back away right now, or they argue. Both are completely wrong. What the book of Rejection Proof shows us is that when someone turns you down, the single most powerful thing you can do is calmly ask, can I ask why? Can I ask why? This does, it's very clever. It does 3 things all at once. First, it does the most important thing, keeps the conversation alive, keeps it going. You have not ran away. You have not given up. You are still talking. The second, even more important thing it does, gives you information. The reason behind a no is almost always way more valuable than the no itself, because the reason tells you what really needs to change. Maybe the timing was bad. You know, they don't get paid for another 30 days. Maybe the price does need to adjust. Maybe they did not understand the offer. But you cannot fix what you do not understand. Okay, so that's why it's really good. Can I ask why? The third, and this is the real quiet magic, it shows the other person that you're not fragile. What do I mean by this? You've heard a no and you did not fall apart. You came back with curiosity instead of collapsing in front of them. And that kind of calmness earns respect. And respect is way more powerful than you could ever imagine in a sales conversation. It turns a no into, well, actually, let me think about that again. You're allowing them again to carry the conversation on. So during the 100 days of rejection, okay, there was obviously a huge number of no's that turned into yeses simply because they asked why. So, no, you cannot do this. Oh, do you mind if I ask why? And then that turned the no into a yes. It was just the start of a deeper talk, a much more meaningful conversation. So understand, a no is not a full stop, it's a comma. The sentence will keep on going with why, with why. So our last reflection, and I want you to take this really seriously, and do this after the call. As soon as we finish the call, do this. Write a short letter to yourself, 3 to 5 sentences. Write it to a version of you who will be sitting at their laptop on Monday morning. If you take the weekend off on Monday and you're hovering over the send button, what do you want that person to remember from today? What permission are you giving them? What promise are you making to them? Okay, so when we finish this call, write a short letter to yourself, just 3 to 5 sentences, write to you, write something which is a version of you who will be sitting at that laptop on Monday morning when you go to send out your messages. Okay, whether you're thinking of sending the DM or not, what do you want that person to remember for what we discussed today? What are you giving them permission to do? What promise are you going to make to them right now? Okay, write down and really keep it close. You'll see it's really helpful. Let me bring this full circle. We've gone through a lot of things today. I hope this has been super, super valuable to everyone that's been on this call today. Apologies, like I said, some of you know I have been a bit unwell. I have that thing possibly called malaria or TB. I don't know which one it is. Something horrible, typhoid, God knows what, but I'm getting through it as always. I really appreciate everyone being on this call. I hope you found this super helpful. Before you hop off, next Friday, there is another free event. I'll put the link in the chat for you. So same time, 5 o'clock UK time. I think the clocks change in the UK this weekend, I think it is, or something like that. But yeah, next Friday, I'm going to teach you how to sell using stories. Stories in copy, stories vocally on a stage or on a sales call. So that is next Friday, same time, 5 o'clock UK time, 5 o'clock UK time. I'm going to teach you a 5-step framework on how you can tell stories to make loads of money. I've dropped the link in the chat there. I hope to see you there. The other one as well, for folks that are on the email, the doors have just opened for a new group coaching offer. I won't bore you with that now, but the details are there. If anyone wants to have a chat, just reach out. I'll be more than happy to explain to you what it's about. The main thing of that group is for people who feel a little bit stuck in their business, is help them to have massive abilities to make huge moves in their business. So there is an offer there. Have a read, have a think. If you have any questions, feel free to give me an ask. If that's not for you, no stress. Next Friday, 100% free, how to sell using story. I've been Matt. You've been amazing, guys. Really appreciate you coming up on a Friday. Have a great rest of your day, evening, wherever you are in the